I'll let her get connected to audio, and I'll open up the waiting room. That way people can just come in as they please. Hi, Jenna, welcome. I think I was emailing you today, so I'm glad you were able to get signed up today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'll wait and see. Well, we might have a couple other people trickle in, but I want to make sure that we can get started. And Jenna, this is the space you can ask the questions you have. So Dr. Landry Meyer will go over a presentation overview of the program to give you an idea of what the program entails, and then we can open it up for questions at the end. My name's Claire Hoover. I am the academic recruiter for the College of Education and Human Development. So I work with prospective students to see, if our college is the right fit for you. Welcome, Kimberly. Thank you for being here today. I'll wait until you get connected to audio. But again, I'm the academic recruiter. I can be your point person if you have any questions related to your major. I can get you connected with faculty from the programs you're interested in, students from their programs you're interested in, to see if we're going to be the right fit for you. I do want to make sure there is the chat in Zoom. So take a moment, introduce yourself, let us know what you're kind of imagining as your career right now with this program, and then ask any questions throughout the presentation as Dr. Landry Meyer is going through the program. We'll open it up for questions at the end, and you can even just turn on your camera and ask questions, whatever you're most comfortable with. But without further ado, I will pass it on to Dr. Landry Meyer.
Hi, thank you all for logging in. This is really great. My name is Dr. Laura Landry Meyer. My students refer to me as LLM or Dr. LLM. So that's what I normally go by. I have been at BGSU for 21 years, and my undergrad, my master's, and my PhD are all in human development and family studies. So what I'd like to do is to hear a little bit about you and some of your interests in your hometown, that type of thing. And then I'm going to go through a little PowerPoint presentation and talk a little bit about the program here at BGSU, what it is, what makes it distinct, and just generally as a field, a profession in general. And then just really informal, if you have any questions or want to know something, like Claire said, you can pop it in the chat or just ask me. That's totally fine. So let me hear a little bit about you and where you're logging in from. So Jenna, can I start with you since you logged in first?
Sure. So I am from Hartville, Ohio. That's where I'm logging in from, I guess closest to Akron, probably.
Okay.
Not a lot of people know Hartville, but and then what was the other question?
What are you kind of interested in? What,
I was originally, the goal was like majoring in psychology, but then I heard about this because my tour guide at BGSU was Katie, and she said she was majoring in this, and I want to be like maybe a child developmental specialist or something like that. So I wondered if this would be good, like double major for me or something with psychology.
Great. And I'll hopefully review that for you and tell you how we are the same and how we might be different from that, so you can make an informed choice. Kimberly, how are you doing? Where are you calling in from or logging in from, and some basic interest?
Hi, my name is Kimberly. I'm logging in from Cleveland, Ohio. My interest is in business. When she just said that in the call, is this so the meeting is for psychology?
We are actually for human development and family studies. So that's what we are looking at right now. So I'm not sure what you are interested in, but I can talk to you a little bit about how HDFS could also be related to business. We have a lot of students who do entrepreneurship or start their own home-based business, but we're basically about individual development in a family context.
Okay.
So, you can just tag along with us and learn something.
And Kimberly, I can also connect you, stay here because there's probably some things that would interest you from this presentation, but also I can connect you with someone from the College of Business or from our Business and Marketing Ed program, because there's a lot of people involved, and I'm happy to connect you with all those. And I do have your email as well. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to go through this presentation because it keeps me focused and on track for y'all. And so I will do that, and we will continue on. I will integrate and emphasize some things, focusing on what both of you have mentioned, and we'll just kind of go from there. I will tell you right now that we are the most awesomest of all the majors at BGSU. And I'm obviously biased, right? So we really, really do, though, have great faculty. We do, I think, a fabulous job of mentoring. I teach one of the sections of our intro course I taught this morning. And just to let you know, like, we have alumni who come back. So this morning I had somebody who graduated in 2008, somebody else who graduated in 2012. Last week I had somebody who graduated this past semester, the semester before this. And so we just have a consistency with our alumni, and we maintain connections overall, right? So we really believe in mentoring and really focusing on that. The other thing that we have a big focus on is what we would call experiential learning. So we have you doing an internship, we have some service learning classes. We're really focused on that. The other thing is that we have also a theme that runs throughout our curriculum that's focused on professional and career development. So we specifically have 3 courses. One is our Intro to HDFS course that you take first, a lot of job shadowing, job exploration stuff, making sure that this is a good fit for you. Then we have our professional development course. You learn about how to do resumes, where to find jobs, where to find internships, a lot about ethics and what to do in certain situations in the field. And then we also have an internship as a capstone experience. Every semester, we have an event called Developing Connections. And that's really what it's about, is developing connections. We have a big event. We have people who make poster presentations that are our current interns as part of their capstone. We also have a lot of community organizations and professionals who come and do poster presentations because they're wanting to recruit you. Professionals who work all the way, and I'll talk a little bit about that, from infants all the way through older adults, really like HDFS majors, Human Development and Family Studies majors, because you get it. And what I mean by that, and I'll explain this in a little bit more detail, is that we teach you about contextual stuff, right? We don't live in a vacuum in just one part of development, that there's a whole context. And so professions and agencies and organizations really appreciate that because HDFS students come at things and their positions really, really well-rounded, and we're quite proud of that. As faculty, we believe strongly in inclusion. We're one of the few programs on BGSU campus that specifically states an anti-racism statement. It's on our webpage. We're very proud of that, and we work very strongly to walk the walk as well as talking the talk. So that's important to us. We've also started what we call an executive and residence program, where we have a professional come in and be an adjunct faculty member with us for about a year. Right now we have Jovan Burks. He graduated in 2008. He's an executive with Chrysler, but he's also a private practice counselor, really helping us focus on at-risk students, really helping us on walking the walk in terms of anti-racism stuff. So we're quite proud of that. Our program is accredited by the National Council of Family Relations, NCFR. This is the first week of November, and it is our national conference week. So we have a lot of faculty who are presenting or who serve in positions nationally. Again, Bowling Green State University is well known at a national level, also a state level. Again, very proud of that. We are research-oriented, theory-oriented, and practice-oriented. NCFR has 3 journals, and each one of those journals focus on one of those areas. And so again, we integrate all of that within our curriculum overall. So when you graduate from our program, you graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Human Development and Family Studies. And you also are eligible for a certification as a certified family life educator. And what that means is that you provide informal education to families, infants, all the way, like I said, through older adults. And I'll break that down in more detail for you in a little bit. Well, let me just go through. So HDFS, how we are distinct from other disciplines and other majors, okay? One is we recognize the whole person, and I mentioned this a little bit before, and we recognize who that person is and everything that makes up that person. So it's from the context of their family of socialization. It's within the family of socialization in terms of that contextual environment. We use theory and research to guide everything that we do. And we understand that people have some form of continuity and change over their lifespan. And by that, we mean that's the developmental focus, right? Where we are today is different from where we were 5 years ago. It's different from where we're going 5 years into the future, right? There's going to be aspects of us that are continuous in terms of our values and beliefs. And there are also changes that we're going to make because as we develop and grow, our identity, our interests also develop and grow. So lifespan approach, recognizing that we're different based on our communities and our cultures. 3 things that we're really strong in, and this comes from a national level, is that we're multicultural, gender fair, and special needs aware. You'll find these themes running throughout our curriculum in our classes. So we're going to teach you how to apply information about HD, human development, and FS, family studies. We're going to teach you to apply that so you can keep those themes together in mind when you're doing any kind of programming or any kind of direct work with individuals and families. So I normally, this is what I do. This is what I'm known for, but don't worry, I won't do it here. I have what's referred to as the Hdfs Shuffle. Okay, it's based on the Cupid Shuffle, right? And I talk about HDFS, right? So it's HD to the right, FS to the left. And then what I say is that when we talk about human development, birth through death, individual growth throughout the lifespan, we do it from a strength-based approach. So I do individual kicks, which is individual strengths, and then walking in a family context. We have to work with families based on how they define themselves. We do not define what a family is. There's a diversity of family forms and structures and interactions. Our job is to build on individual strengths to make them as strong and optimally functioning as possible. And so that's what we do. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to break this up, what the HD is, what that looks like, what the FS is, combine it together, and then talk about what some career options might be for you. Okay, so a couple things about how we differentiate ourselves from other majors and other disciplines. We are family life education. We help families build their knowledge and skills about who they are and what they want to be. Okay, that's what we are in HDFS. If you get into more of a social work type of field, that kind of falls under family case management. And that is more about helping families navigate and locate resources and get assistance. So complying with policy, process, procedures in order to get assistance. That's family case management. Family therapy is much more focused on looking at family functioning, how we look at strengthening relationships, maybe repairing relationships, okay? That's more of a psychologist, counselor, therapist. The thing is that all of these fields, right, all want to focus on strong, healthy families. How we go about doing it and what the positions are when you have that degree is going to be very different, right? So family life education is HDFS. We work in that field. It's informal education. We do that. Some of our graduates and alumni also work as case managers, case coordinators. We can do some of that, but it's mostly on resource referral. If you want to be a family counselor, a therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, all of those, every single one of them require a graduate degree. So HDFS is a great starting point to get a graduate degree of some kind. But I will be very clear with you, you do not need a graduate degree in order to get a position, an HDFS position after your undergrad. So like I said, I have alumni coming in right now, and I would say I have one who graduated in May. He just started a position. He is making close to $40,000 a year with benefits. That's kind of what we're seeing as the trend right now. Similarly, I just had one of our alumni chat today. And so she talked about being a family therapist. And as a family therapist working with the community health program, she's starting out in mid-40s. So there's not, in other fields, there might be a huge jump between that. But when you're talking about social and mental health services, there's not that huge of a jump. But if you want to do that therapy, that psychologist type of stuff, you will need an advanced degree with that. Does that make sense? Let me kind of breathe a little bit here. What kind of questions do you have specifically about that? Anything at this point? No? Okay. I'm going to kind of continue on a little bit. Let me look through here and see what I got. I feel like I'm talking too much, y'all. Yeah, I'll go with this next slide here. Let me share again, and so we can get that screen shared. I'm just going to talk a little bit about some where people work, right? So in family life education, we talk about what positions might be available. And so, Jenna, there's two minors that we have that are interests for people who want to work with children. We have a child development minor. That minor works specifically and concentrates on folks who want to teach in a preschool setting, early intervention setting, that type of thing. And so those courses are infant development, child development, creative learning environments, administration of programs. So the other thing is that if you want to focus on a business, right, and it deals with maybe a childcare or a preschool or serving children in some way, shape, or form, that child development minor might be a good fit for you. Even let's say if you want to go into business, but you want that, you could do that. The other minor that we have is something called a child life specialist. And child life specialists are employed in a healthcare setting, primarily hospitals. And those folks do work primarily in med school, right? Or not in med school, in a medical setting. And so child life specialists have a practicum in the hospital setting. Those courses allow you information and background about how to talk with families in a stressful situation. So some of our students that do that maybe intern or do some work at the Ronald McDonald House or a children's hospital, let's say. They have courses that talk about play therapy. How do we use play to help kids cope with what they're going through? It could be something from getting ear tubes to maybe a cancer treatment or something along those lines. So our students do stuff like that. We have a certified family or child life specialist who teaches those classes, and you can be eligible to take that exam once you graduate. I'm just going to kind of look through here what else I have here on the screen. All different social service agencies, and I'll just kind of go through. Public, we have a lot of folks who work at a children's services or job and family services in Ohio in different settings. We have folks who work in a foster care setting or an adoption, private adoption setting. We have a lot of folks who focus on social justice, right? They might work in a correctional facility. We have a program and organization that works on creating family memories, and family connections, especially to improve fatherhood. So fathers who are incarcerated, this program creates opportunities for children and families to do memorable activities when they visit the father, right? So there's something positive and strength-based so that family is still functioning at the most optimal level, and that parent can continue in that parent role, and that parent role can be strong even when that family is facing challenges. So we have a lot that work in a Parks and Rec department, especially with youth programming. We have other folks that work in youth programming at zoos. Toledo Art Museum has a community family program. We've had students work there. We've had also students working in summer camps or day camps or something along those lines. Hospice, if you're interested in older adults, or being an activities director at a senior center or something along those lines. Other stuff that has an interest in terms of that is that we have folks who do a lot of advocacy and policy. I have a student right now who started out as a freshman, now in their senior year, started out really wanting adolescent therapy counseling, has now developed a really strong interest in policy. How do we do social justice policy to empower adolescents, especially those who come from extreme poverty? So that student will be doing an internship with a policy-based, research-based organization, helping to do policy briefings at the State House. Very, very specific. But that's the thing that I love about HDFS, is that you can come in as a freshman and say, okay, this is what I want. But we are so broad, right? So a student who started out focusing really on wanting to help adolescents who are at risk, and then as you get into our curriculum and you get into our courses and you learn about all the family context, you're like, wait a minute, and he thought that, okay, I can really make the best difference by doing X. So if I want to make that difference, then I really need to do Y. And so thinking about that and learning about that, I have two other students. They have focused on really wanting to help kids and families who are in adoption, and making sure that those adoptions aren't disrupted. So we have created some independent research activities, and we are partnering with an organization where they are helping them evaluate their programs to make sure that parents, foster parents, they make that connection and they can do that and stay as a family and get the supports they need as a family. So that's something else that we do. So those are, I mean, I could probably go on and on and on. I'm just thinking about everybody that was, that's been back and just been chatting, that kind of thing. We have another graduate who's down in Florida, who, we hear a lot right now about what's happening in a societal context. And so she has a master's degree. She's a counselor. She also has some social work courses, and she was working in a juvenile justice center. Her local police department down in Florida has created a mental health, I forget what she called it, the mental health team, right? And so if there's a 911 call dealing with something with mental health, she is one of the first responders, and she's a drive along in that police car getting there on scene to make sure that people are getting the help and the assistance and the empowerment that they need. So we are very diverse, and that's what I love about our field. The other thing is that it allows you to grow, and even if your interests change or deepen, you can still stay in the same major. And it's still flexible enough to have you work within that. So I'm going to take a breather, and I want to get some feedback from you about some of the stuff that's on the screen right now. What's on here that might interest you, or what's not on here that you think that you might like?
Hi. So I thought the child life specialist minor was really interesting, and like the hospital aspect of it and helping kids going through those stressful situations. So would the career path be getting a graduate's degree for that as well, or?
That's really, Jenna, that's really interesting. This is one of my great stories that I tell folks. So a child life specialist also can work with medically fragile children in a medically fragile daycare setting. And we have students that do that as well. But a child life specialist, they are governed just like a therapist or whoever through an accrediting body. So what we do with that minor plus all your HDFS coursework is get you ready to take that exam. At this point in time, it does not require a master's degree. Okay. There are some of our graduates who realized they wanted to be a child life specialist, didn't get some of those required courses in when they were an undergrad, so they did go on to grad school. It does not make a big difference in terms of your position when you get out and your pay necessarily. But what does require is that when you declare that as a minor, we definitely make sure that you get those required practicum hours. Okay. So a course in that, and I think Claire's probably posted a link to the child life specialist in the chat maybe, but you have to take a medical terminology course. You're going to take a play therapy course. You're going to learn, and when you do your practicum and your internship, it's going to be a lot of hours, and you're going to make rounds just like a med student. So you're going to do the heart round, the cancer round, or whatever. But that is a very popular one. I had two students who were identical, and I laugh about this because they looked the same. I messed up their names all the time. They had the same GPA. They both wanted to be in child life. They both really wanted a master's degree. And I kept telling them, you don't need it. You don't need it. And so anyway, wrote them both letters of recommendation. Okay. At last minute, one of them decided to go for the exam. She took it and passed. She got hired at the hospital where her friend ended up having to do an internship under her as a grad student. And we still laugh about that to this day, right? So, if you are purposeful and you know these things, we as faculty and really our alumni are great, right? I have somebody right now who works at Children's Hospital down in Columbus, right? He comes and chats with us all the time, tells us how to get in, hooks students up with different things. Our program coordinator, Stephanie Blessing, was spearheading our child life specialist minor, works really strongly with that. So it's a great field, especially if you want a healthcare hospital-based setting. You know, so that is one area. We also have a lot of our graduates who go into a healthcare medical setting being patient information coordinators. You know, and so I have one gal who's down at Ohio State Hospitals that I keep in touch with. She graduated in 2012. She helps patients coordinate, you know, okay, how am I doing? Do I transition home right away? Do I need rehab? What do I need for rehab? How am I going to pay for this? How do I communicate with family? But basically kind of like that family case management, that resource referral navigation piece. So there are all kinds of options for that as well.
Yeah, thank you. I just, when you said like working in a hospital, helping kids with like those stressful things, like the implants or things like that, that's kind of what I was wanting to do. So that helps a lot with that pathway.
Yeah, I think I will say, you know, having been an internship supervisor and watching our students intern at, I've done it a lot up in Toledo, where, you know, that's our closest children's hospital, but also went down to the Columbus one time as an internship supervisor. It is really quite cool and wonderful. And it does take, you know, and the thing that I love about our program, right, is that we are a trauma-informed curriculum. So that means, so for instance, let's say, you know, we have a kiddo who, you know, maybe it was a really bad car accident, right? And so we teach you all how to take and acknowledge that trauma and work that into a treatment, or work that into communication, not only when you're communicating to the child, but also the child's family, right? And that is just so important. And so thinking about how the impact of maybe a child's diagnosis is affecting the child, but then also being able to communicate that to mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever, right? And have that family be supportive, because we know it's going to affect everybody. Yeah, definitely cool. The play therapy class is also really a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
We have three certified play specialists that help us teach that class. So that's fun.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Other questions about that? I don't know, Kimberly, some of these in terms of business and stuff, the nonprofit or even the business sector in terms of administrative and management are also open. We have a great nonprofit minor. So if you take the HDFS major and combined it with the nonprofit minor, that really gives you that administrative background if you're interested in empowering and working with children and families overall. So that's really important. And I always say this to students when we talk about that: just because something is nonprofit doesn't mean there's not any money in it, right? Nonprofit means that when the organization makes a profit, they send that money back. And like, so let's say at the end of the day, I have two companies, both of them make $1 million. One's a for-profit, one's a nonprofit. The for-profit takes that $1 million and divides it up against their shareholders, right? The nonprofit takes that $1 million and delivers it in terms of services to whoever their clients are. And so that's what they do with the profits at the end of the year. And so doing the business side of that for a nonprofit is much more complicated in a lot of ways than for a for-profit agency overall. So other comments or questions overall? No.
Laura, could you talk a little bit more about, because I know there's a required internship in the program. How
Mhm.
many hours are students getting with that? Because I
Right.
think that's a really big pull. That's where a lot of students are getting their jobs and experience. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Great. The HDFS program overall, well, I'll kind of give my advisor spiel. Claire, you can correct me if I get anything wrong. Full disclosure, Claire was my favorite youngest son's advisor in College Credit Plus. That's how we first met. Anyway, all right. In Ohio, all students to graduate from a four-year institution are required to have 122 credit hours. So no matter what, to get a four-year degree, you need 122 credit hours. The HDFS major, right? We require 58 credit hours. And Claire shared those check sheets with you. In addition to that, BGSU has what we call BGP courses, Bowling Green Perspective courses, sometimes referred to as general education courses to give you a well-rounded liberal education. So you combine those two together, and then a lot of students, either they explore other passions or interests or something, or they take a minor. That's what we were talking about with child development, or the nonprofit minor, or the child life specialist, or maybe it's the leadership certificate, maybe it's psychology, sociology, or maybe it's something else. Okay. I have a lot of folks right now who are taking the coaching minor because they want to work with youth in that. So we do all of that. Within those 58 hours, you have some choices to specialize in terms of that HD, individual development, in terms of infant, child, adolescent, or adult. And then you also have a choice in your internship. We have a variable credit internship. We, at a minimum, require a 7 credit hour internship, which equates to about 334 hours out in the field. So what that means is that you work out in the field for 15 to 20 hours a week, depending on what the schedules are, if there's spring breaks or whatever, right? And that's tied into a course. Now, there are some fields, or there's some folks who want more. So you can take up to 12 credit hours in the internship with us. And so what that means, like, especially for child life specialist, your licensure requires that you take the full 12, right? So you will, and that means that you'll work more hours in the field. So that's where it's at. I would say that a good, well, I'm not the internship supervisor right now, but I would say a good 20% of our students get hired on directly from their internship. So when we have our Developing Connections event every semester, it's really like a huge alumni reunion, because it's all of our alumni coming back. It's a lot of fun. I put out a Facebook post and say, hey, I need somebody to talk to a student on X. And, I get 2 or 3 replies within 24 hours. So I would say that there's a strong connection there between our internship practical experience and getting hired right away. I would say right now it's looking really good for our students. I have not heard of any who haven't been able to get a job. And several are coming back, talking to our current classes to actually recruit for entry-level positions. And that is so much fun. I can't tell you how much fun that is. So yes, our internship is critical, but we make sure that you're set up. You take a class right before then, we walk you through it. You practice with at least 3 interviews with us. You can do your internship locally in BG. If you want to do it back home, if you want to do it overseas, you want to do it, across country, you can do it wherever you want. We have it set up for that. And we're totally open to those options. So right now, usually in the summer, we have about 40 students out in internships, and they will range from a student being in a NICU talking to moms for prenatal, early intervention, prenatal care, all the way to people working in hospice and everything in between. So that's the beauty of our degree, is that you can flip back and forth. Other questions, comments, or interests that you can think of that you're interested in? Oops. I'm trying to see what else I have on my slides that you might be interested in.
And I just want to add, I will be following up with the two of you via email, so I can send you a lot of these resources also, so you have it in one space. Jenna, just so you know, my undergraduate degree was psychology, so I can give you a little bit of the psychology perspective. If you want to kind of chat about that, we can do that on a separate day. And I also have a master's in clinical mental health counseling, so I can talk from that perspective if that's something that you're interested in. But I think if you're interested in counseling, working with kids, HDFS it does a lot to prepare you. I would say psychology is more research-based, and not to say HDFS doesn't use research, but it's more lab research, right. Quantitative lab research. But we can talk more about that, Jenna. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Yeah, so to differentiate a little bit, psychology is only concerned with the HD, individual development side of the house. Sociology and social work is more concerned with the FS contextual side of the house. HDFS brings both of those together. So it allows you a versatility in working with families that and individuals that you don't get from any other individual discipline overall. In our program, what you can expect from us, we have 8 faculty, full-time faculty. We all have different areas of expertise, so to speak. Everybody always laughs at me because I like old people. That means that I'm not a child person. So you will never have me for a child development class. You will have me for the older adult classes and some of the skills-based classes. We have great play therapists. We have great child life specialists. They're on there, right? We have 2 counselors who are part of our faculty, both of them with a strong trauma-informed perspective. I also teach an active listening class. I teach listening, which is really important. But all of us have, we challenge you. We challenge you to be the best you. We're very clear in our course syllabi. We do that. We are all teach from an active learning pedagogy. So expect us to know your name, expect us to call you out, expect those things, right? Expect you to be there during the class time and to work during the class time. Even if it's at 8 a.m., like my students learn every single time semester, like, why do you always teach at 8 a.m.? Because that's when the day starts. You need to get moving. So also expect that we will give you very constructive feedback. I talk about mastering course concepts. While you might be concerned with performance and the grades you get, we're more concerned that you master the concept. So when you're working in a hospital or in a setting, you know, and you feel good about what you're doing. Like I said, we're all about there mentoring and supporting you, whether it's connecting you to resources that are available on site. Met with a student today, really on a struggle bus, as we call it. And I said, okay, what's your goal? Is your goal to finish this semester? Yes. What's your goal in terms of your grade overall? How many credit hours do you have? You know, and I made her do a pinky promise with me that she would email me by midnight tonight, letting me know what she's doing, and that we would meet in person again on Thursday. That's not uncommon from my colleagues. We do that a lot. We have a lounge room, that student lounge room that's right across the hall from us. If you're in there, we'll pop in and say hi. There's a coffee maker in there. There's snacks in there. We're going to make sure that you get caffeinated and that you get fed. And we're not going to talk about just theory in the abstract. We're not going to talk about research in the abstract. We're about creating relevance so that you can use it out in the field. And, when I have these alumni come in and chat with our freshman class, we know that we're doing well because they keep saying over and over again, yes, and don't ever sell that book back because you'll use it 10 years from now. And that's what we're about in terms of doing all that. So that's what you can expect from my colleagues and I. And we really do have a lot of fun. It's fun. I don't know. Claire, we're fun. Aren't we fun? We're fun.
Yeah, you had a chili cook-off and everything.
We had a chili. Well, don't get me started on that because yeah. I think.
Sorry, sore subject.
Well, that's because somebody is using some little techniques to always beat me out. I'm a little bit of a sore loser, but yeah. I'll let it go.
Great. So does anybody else have any questions before we wrap it up? Again, I'll email you. So at least I'll also have a recording of this so I can send this to you all as well. So you have it, and I'll include all of the links, but any other questions?
Okay, thought of another question. My dad's here with me too, so he's helping out with the questions.
Awesome.
Hi, Dad.
Hello.
But as far as like the general education requirements, what is the math requirement? Because I've been taking like some CCP courses and I'm just curious about the transfer of my math and stuff.
That's a great question. That's a Claire question because that's a quantitative literacy question. And transferology, if you log it into transferology, wouldn't it tell you what transfers over, Claire?
Yeah. So Jenna, where are you taking your CCP through?
My CCP, well, I've been taking them through Kent and then Stark State.
Okay, I usually see those classes come in just fine. Typically for HDFS, I see our stats. College Algebra 2 is another common one, but statistics tends to be the most common.
Okay, because I took a CCP pre-calc class last year.
That's fine.
Fine.
That's even higher level than you need.
Okay, because I have CCP statistics on my schedule this year, but I hate math. So I really don't want to take it, but I mean.
Yeah, if you have pre-calc, if you want, Jenna, you can send me, why don't you send me like an unofficial transcript? I can look through and give you an idea of if and how they'll transfer in. But statistics is most common. Pre-calc is even higher level, but also considered quantitative literacy.
Okay. So then I only need the one then, or is that like?
That should be it, but I want to see it and I don't want to say verbally until I've seen it.
Okay, I'll send it to you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Do you have any more?
Dad, do you have any more questions? Oh, come on, Dad's got to have at least one more.
What CCP?
You did not go on the tour with us. I got more questions than, I mean, she gets embarrassed. I have a lot of questions.
All right.
That's how you learn. That's good. It's good to be curious.
Well, and I will tell you that out of the 7 colleges that we're dealing with, you guys are the only ones that are doing something like this for the kids that really open it up to questions that she didn't even know that she wanted to ask about things like child life specialists. So this is awesome. And extremely impressed because we're dealing with Ohio State and Akron U and Kent and classes like that. Well, you guys are blowing them away.
Yeah,
to be honest with
you. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
And I will say, Jenna, and so I'll prep your dad for this now. If you come to BG, don't be surprised because, I'm teaching the freshman class right now. And so when I go through there, everyone's like, oh, I can do that. And so, and then it might lead you in a different track. And that's okay. That's developmentally appropriate. That's what you're supposed to be doing. But I think the best thing about an HDFS degree is that we are not a cookie cutter. If you go into ed, you're going to be a teacher. If you go into this, you're going to be this. No, we have all kinds of things. And so in that intro class right now, the students are doing career exploration. And I work with them one-on-one as freshmen to look at potential jobs that they like. And like, okay, what do we need to get into in terms of your extracurricular activities? What might your minor be? Where do we want you to be? And so, you know, even though I always say this and they laugh at me, even though we love you and we want to keep you, we want to kick you out after 4 years. So, you know, we often laugh about that, but yeah, that's really kind of where we want you to be. Okay.
Any other questions?
And Claire will connect with you, and Jenna and Kimberly, if you have specific questions that you think of, you can send me an email as well. And if I don't have something specific, I will send it to one of my colleagues. Like I said, there's 8 of us. Plus we have a lot of grad students that help us out. Gretchen, who's on here, is a grad student with Claire. So yeah, we'll have somebody that gets back to you at some particular, like if you want to know something about the dorms and what it's like as a freshman, we can put you in touch with somebody.
That'd be cool.
Not a, you know, I had a student who started her sophomore year. I worked with her entire freshman year, and I never met her because it was COVID. And so she got onto campus, and I connected her, and she was part of a research team and everything. And we had a little celebratory reunion, and she was like, I didn't realize you were so short. Because we're always sitting down when we chatted on Zoom. So even if you wanted something like that, we can connect you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll copy Dr. Landry Meyer on the email that I send. I'll probably send
Thank
you
you.
the email tomorrow, and that way you have our contact info all in one place.
Thank you.
Great.
All right. I have another meeting at 7, Claire. So if
That is
anybody
totally
has
fine.
anything else, I'm happy to chat and follow up. But I do need to skedaddle to get ready for the next one.
That's totally fine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
You're
Jenna,
most
Kimberly.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bye, Jenna. Bye, Dad. Bye, Kimberly.
Bye. Have a good night. Thank you for coming. And thank you, Dr. Landry Meyer. Bye.